Make sure we don't. Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, 5:30 PM. Call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Present is Donnie Kern.
Brent Crone.
And we'll stand for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America. And to the
Quit.
The public. I'm sorry, June 2024 Public Works minutes first.
Move to accept the minutes as submitted.
Brent Crone second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public comments, 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes per topic.
Unless Ryan wants to comment.
Anybody here to give comment?
Brenda, went up. You. Brenda's off.
Nobody here to give comment? Project updates.
All right, so I have a lot on the agenda tonight. So if you want me to talk further on things, let me know. The Pinevale subdivision, they pulled off this week. They had some sort of other emergency to attend to. But we expect them back later this week. And they're kind of focusing on that south end of the development. The Bridge Street, the Main Street Bridge utility and expansion, you know, we have submitted, reviewed, and, you know, we've approved now those, their pipe support submittal. And I think there's like a 6-week lead time on that. So it'll get done yet this year, or actually it's a 10-week lead time. I'm saying October. So it'll be,
These are the hanger things?
yeah.
Been going on forever.
I guess they got a hand forge them. No, I have no idea why it takes 10 weeks, but everything these days takes extra long.
Yep.
Yeah, Whiteside Prairie, they're out there, I see A1's out there working, they got the boulder wall and prepping things for sidewalk installation, right?
I know it was mentioned in the last meeting about getting some of that stuff done. Do we have a time frame on that
Or which,
completion?
oh,
Bob, did we get a schedule from A1? You know, they're
From Albertson?
yeah,
No, he's working out there. Something I didn't schedule for me.
all right, anticipated it's this year though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a. Yeah, pull out that sidewalk and pouring it, and that's what, you know, prepping that.
Signage? That was what it was said in the last minutes or two. Adam
Street signage.
Main brought it up, concerns with no signage, no speed limit signs.
did something to be completed before we got the signs in,
Just topsoil, city of restoration and mulch. Just not gonna do that, I'll put the signs up.
We gotta be done by next month or
I don't think by the end of the
September.
September, it's the end of, that's usually the last thing they do, so I'd imagine that would probably be right before it freezes.
Yeah, it'll be in October, I guess,
October?
yeah. Sometime in October.
Is there an issue with getting at least some temporary signage up for speed limits or anything down in there?
I mean, they're all local streets, I mean. I don't know, has speeding been an issue?
That's where they brought it up, is that there's no
Residents.
speed limit signs in that from Adam Main that brought it up, at the June 12th meeting. That's something that can get accomplished?
So we're gonna buy temporary signs and put them up, or buy extra signs?
We have some.
Pardon?
we have some.
And then, MSA and Public Works met on River Hills North with residents and basically told them, you know, everybody's reviewed it, and here's a solution. And, you know, the kind of balls in the residents' court, is my understanding, because they wanted some guarantee. It's like, well, what do you want to guarantee on? You know, there will always be a bigger rainstorm. There'll be, you know, is it standing water for how, you know, so I don't know, I think Tasia was gonna talk to her neighbors and figure out, you know, what they want, and then I don't know if the contractor will agree to it.
What does?
Because there's always, you know, freeze, the ground's frozen, certain times of year, you know, snow can, you know, back things up, and, you know, it's a,
Well, the bottom lot unfortunately is gonna be where the, most of the water rolls downhill. I mean, as long as it's vacating eventually.
you know, we try to accommodate their needs. You know, they've lowered that downstream structure to their plan, you know, the proposal is to lower the downstream structure. Regrade it to get a little more positive drainage. They didn't like the berm idea, so, you know, then as designed, it's gonna go through the middle of the backyards and. You know, there's,
Okay, well, it's in there, the residents court, and they provided on the plan.
So a plan's been offered to them,
Three alternatives,
pardon?
three alternatives, yeah.
And so they just have one of three alternatives to pick, and then it's a question of whether or not the contractor is going to approve it?
well, if they want something. You know, it's,
It's one of three alternatives. We-
yes, but
do it.
it's down to the one alternative, but they want some sort of guarantee, and it's like, well, what kind of guarantee are you looking for?
Mm.
You know, perfection is not guaranteeable,
Well, and the ground always settles a little bit, right?
Yeah,
You
I mean-
can't bet on.
and I don't know about your backyards, but, you know, there's drainage through my backyard, and occasionally, when we have heavy rains, there's standing water that.
Well, there was a stream there, I see.
No, I'm not,
I-
it can be improved, I mean, it needs to be improved on.
Right.
You know, I would 100% agree with you.
I'm worthy of at least taking some action on the thing to try to mitigate some of that and get some of their land back, because right now they have a river going through it. And
You know,
if that's what the village is kind of coming to a recommendation, maybe there should be something brought to the board saying, here's what we're agreeing to or whatever, and
you know,
take the initiative to get that project, you know, started and finished and at least trying to do something versus everybody kind of, you know, getting into a guarantee on it. There's no guarantee before on it. Right now, right?
yeah, what we don't want is corrective actions taken and then have fill this with the residents complaining they don't like the corrective action. So that we're trying to get a consensus and make sure that they understand, you know, the end product, so, you know, this only has to happen one time.
Managing expectations, right? That's an
Yeah.
important part of this whole
Pardon?
process. Managing expectations is a really important part of this whole process, and I appreciate the foresight and looking into that.
You know,
And not just blindly guaranteeing them that.
Well, they brought three proposals to them, right?
yeah, and like that, you know, and we've had Kraus and McCain looked at it, we've had staff look at it, we had my staff look at it, we had our water resource staff look at it, you know, just to get all different kind of perspectives and the residents' feedback, and it's like, well, they didn't like the berm idea, so okay, you know. Let's, you know, how can we pivot?
Yeah, you'd be really hard. It's hard for them to say that we haven't done anything or been sympathetic to them at this point. I think we've spent quite a bit on engineering resources on this point if we come up with three plans.
Yeah, and everyone needs to agree to it, and if you have one that says no, it shifts what you're capable of doing. So
Well,
one property owner says, no, I don't want you on my property.
Well, that's gonna be tricky
Yeah.
just in general.
So it has been,
It's been challenging. So.
and, you know, if they
Isn't
can't,
that a utility? Isn't that a utility,
The storm easement.
yeah, storm easements?
Yeah.
I mean, we can get across it to get this stuff done, right?
Right, we just can't encroach into the property.
Right.
so, and, yeah, and like I said, if, you know, if they can't come to some sort of consensus as a neighborhood, nothing gets done and
Yeah.
nothing gets improved, and that's the worst case scenario.
I think, we know where that one's at then. We got a lot to go through there.
Where's that? I'm sorry,
Sounds like it's
I
with-
got it. I'm.
Sounds like it's with them, the owners right
Waiting
now.
the cold.
That's okay, I can talk louder, don't worry
That's
about
fine, I
that.
appreciate that.
So it sounds like they've got 3 plans, it's with them, should we, keep going, especially these
Yeah,
items,
this is on
these
the village.
items that
It's
need.
on the village board agenda.
Yeah, these ones that need requested action, specifically, I mean, we didn't talk about the TID lift station. What do you need on that one?
Oh, that's during, believe me, we got an agenda item on everything else.
Oh, that's already on that, okay, all right,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, everything else already is, okay.
Any other questions?
No, it looks like everything else has an agenda item that I will talk about.
Well, except for the Winesap Prairie subdivision.
Oh. Well, we talked about that. A1's out there.
Pardon?
A1 is out there.
Okay,
October.
they're submitting the plans
No, it's,
on the subdivision, developers at Red Engineering revising a plan. There's
Oh,
no overflow pipe across the necessary property, across school property.
yeah, and that's for that subsequent phase when, yes, that's, I don't have an update on that part of it.
You know, yeah, very good one.
That'll be,
That's on the developer, it's not on us,
okay. That's what we were waiting for before, right?
before I'll let them go into phase 2.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Unfinished business, discussion possible recommendation, outdated ordinance, title 11, chapter 6. Tabled items, 11.6.2, 11.6.3.1, I, title 6, chapter 4. You wanna continue to look at these and put these to bed tonight? We wanna table them, because we got a ton of other items on the, what's the pleasure?
I think we table, it's specifically for my, I need to add some stuff in here for Buckthorn, that was my. I did not do anything with that,
Move the table.
Brandon Crowe second,
Well, let's back up here for a second. We're tabling title 11, chapter 6. 11.6.2, 11.6.3 I, title 6, chapter 4, 6.4.3 A, B, 6.4.5 title 6, chapter 2, streets and sidewalks. Title 12, chapter 12, parks and recreations, or on the reservation policy. Are we tabling it all?
table,
I'm asking what you're holding. Okay,
Table 5A agenda items.
Brandon Crowe second,
motion made, seconded to table 5A. Agenda item, discussion. The only discussion I have is title 12, chapter 12, parks and recreations. 12.1.5 reservation policy was an unfinished business that was new. But we were putting that up in here for you to look at because it really hasn't been followed.
Well, all the outdated ordinances, I just lumped in as
Lumped it in as one.
unfinished.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. 5B. Discussion possible recommendation, ball field use impact sports academy west. We had a, kind of a document from Hudson as far as, how they prioritized their, reservation scheduling. Is that something that we wanted to kind of, amend and follow up with and adopt? Or is that something, cause, Impact used the, Larry Forrest in August because we didn't have a July meeting. And I don't know, did that go okay?
Not especially,
Pardon?
because it was the same night as. National Night Out, so it was a scramble.
Oh, that's why it got switched.
Right. Well, although it worked out. The Parks Committee got it taken care of and, I think National Night Out went off without hitch. I know Chief Trepchek said it worked out overall very well and going forward, they got it reserved for that time, but I'm saying, do we want to look at that as a committee? Is that type of a policy?
For the reservations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Prioritizing reservations.
I mean, I guess that, I don't know how many instances we have, this is probably the only instance we've had where this has popped up. I actually was going through this because there's a disc golf tournament that's coming up. So this is pretty relevant to me, so I didn't even know this, but I don't know if we need to establish a priority.
Well, here's my concern, is if you don't establish a priority, something like that, or some other company or corporation could come in and book all that time and take it away from our associations. Not saying that's the case with Impact, because they've said no, but any other organization could come in and book it and take away those deals or not, those reservations from our associations, and I don't wanna see that happen. That's why I'm saying if we put a priority together, at least with, ball fields are few and far between, obviously, because they wanna, come in and they book them, and now, Neil's gonna be forced to say to our associations, we can't do that. I'm not a fan of that. I'd like to get some kind of a prioritization set up so that there's a set schedule and there's a way for Neil to be able to, administer it.
Well, can we slide that in as part of when we redo this 12-1-5?
I'm just saying, if you guys are okay with it, we're not gonna have anything, as far as ball fields or anything, but we can adopt a policy or look at a policy and just amend that, to revise it to kind of what Hudson was doing for prioritizing schedule for next year.
I'm open, so. Okay.
Bob, you okay with that?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to table that and, until next month, and we'll bring that, schedule forward and I would say, policy or schedule, and, we could look at that as reviewing as well as the, tabled items from 5A.
It did go off without a hitch, so National Night Out was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The helicopter takeoff.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah,
pretty-
I was here, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So my motion is to table that, we'll bring it back, next month.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to table 5B. Till next month with the schedule coming forward, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion, opposed, motion carried. 5C, water system evaluation.
May I have permission?
Allowed to. I don't make you host.
Sharing is not turned on, if that helps. Anything about sharing?
Sharing option.
Hey, there you go.
Will work. Okay. There we go.
You got it?
No.
Good.
Nice, I can see what I'm looking at here. All right. Let's try to get rid of that. Okay, so. I'll breeze through this report, just to kind of give you a flavor of what we're looking at here. But just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, we were hired to do the needs assessment, then through the needs assessment, determine about, well, you were programmed to paint your water tower, but did that make sense, right? Or do you need more capacity? What are we doing here? Do you invest in that? You tear it down, whatever. So that's what this water system needs looked at, okay? And so I'll just kind of walk you through it, but just to kind of reset everything, the city has 2 active wells and 2 200,000 gallon tanks, right? And, it talks about, the largest users on the system, and then scrolling down here, I'll just walk you through the memo. we have the design standards where we have, you know, everything we design to, you know, the Wisconsin Administrative Code, just to make sure everything's in compliance. We have something to compare to, so we can conclude our recommendations, right? You know, and that includes, the boost, you know, the pressure. So you have your wells that supply the water, right? And then you have the tower that provides the pressure, and then the storage. And then as long as, you know, the parameters of what Wisconsin recommends, you know, then everything's okay, so. This walks through kind of the current water demands of what you have out there. And, I don't know, I don't think we need to get into the details of that. But if you want to, you can see, you know, you can ask me, I might go into more detail, but, you know, primarily it's residential flow. And when a couple things are going on here, you know, generally speaking, towns under 5,000 people, it's fire flow that dictates your capacity. Then as you get bigger, it's really the residential use that dictates the capacity need. Because you're looking for a balance of both, right? And, you know, so you kind of see some of your water use here. Future demand. You know, generally speaking, you want your wells to run 12 hours a day, or, you know, under 12 hours a day. You know, under normal operation conditions, and then, you know, under 16 for max capacity stuff, so rules of thumb.
12 to 16.
Yeah, well, under 12. A
So it looks
normal
like-
day, because you don't wanna,
Summer will be a little bit over that.
yeah. But, you know, there's other trade-offs, right? When you're looking at these numbers here. These assume that your largest well is out of service as well. So, you know, it's kind of the worst case scenario where, oh, gosh, we only have one well, we have the storage. You know, how long is this thing running? And you can see in the future, if that case scenario was to happen, well, yeah, you're gonna be a little bit over that exceedance. But the bottom line is, you know, it's, you know, it's not currently an issue if you look at, you know. those
But we need
numbers.
to plan for failure. Mitigate that risk.
Yeah, and so, you know, you can see some of the formulas to look at capacity evaluation. And then, you know, with the fire flow too, you know, what the ISO, the insurance people wanna see is, what is it, 3 hours, 3,500 gallons per minute,
When you say insurance people, what does that mean? Like in order to get?
your insurance rating.
Oh, as a village,
ISO is a fire insurance, they set basically your insurance rate, so. People with a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of their home. In comparison to someone that lives in Starbright Township,
it's a different.
their insurance is gonna be cheaper because they recognized the ability to extinguish the fire quicker.
Makes
Is that
sense.
mandated by state or what for
No.
the pressure?
The state only requires 500 gallons per minute.
Free market dictates it.
And, you know, so there's a balancing act, and as I told you, in the smaller communities, the fire flow kind of dictates the storage. But, you know, if you're a town of 100 people and you've got capacity and that amount to provide 3,500 gallons for 3 hours, well, then you're gonna have water quality issues. Because, you know, 99% of the time, you know, you're not cycling through that tower. And it's gonna become stagnant.
Stable.
So you gotta take the good with the bad here, right?
Got it.
And so even though this thing says currently you with that 3,500 gallon per minute requirement, you have negative spare capacity.
What does
You're-
that mean?
Well, it means that
You have negative what?
you don't have enough spare capacity. So you don't have enough to meet that 3,500 for 3 hours with one well out. But again, it's not the end of the world. You know, you still meet requirements, but it's just, you know, one of the metrics we look at to make, you know, informed decisions. So, you know, based on this valuation, the whole system storage is considered adequate under current demand. Construction of additional storage, you know, should be considered sometime down the future, so like in 2040, you're probably building a tower, okay? But, or when conditions dictate it, but strictly from, well, you know, storage capacity, you're okay with what you got. But someday you're gonna have to build,
So if we put another 250, connections, that's not gonna be an issue. But if we have one big company come in that is a water consumer, we'd have to require them to put up a well in order to not lose our water capacity for the rest of the residents. Is that something that we could require to them coming in?
well, as you'll see in the needs study, Danny, that, you know, you're gonna collect money on the needs for a new tower, because eventually you'll have to build one.
Right,
So, as people come in, or those bigger users come in, you know, they'll pay accordingly. But yeah, you'll, at some point, based on flows and the, you know, water use, you'll have to build storage. But right now, you don't need to. You can get by, and, you know, to kind of cut to the
So how do we-
punchline,
what if we start building up on, and we lose water pressure up in that new development? Once it gets going, if it gets going again.
yep, and I'm getting there.
I think,
Okay.
we get further down on this.
All right.
It'll address that.
So, yeah, pressure, you know, what you wanna see is, you know, the code requires, you know, 35 to 100 PSI.
Is that that ain't this report, is it?
No,
Okay, so that's a
This is a
different
memo.
report?
yeah, this would have been in your packet. I believe.
I did not do that one.
Oh, you didn't put that one out?
That's what I don't have that.
It was emailed to you.
It was emailed.
Oh,
Everything's been.
I think when you emailed everything out,
13th and. yeah.
I noticed, you know, yesterday, that you missed Donnie on that. You got everybody else. When you emailed out the agenda?
Really?
Yeah,
That's probably why I didn't have it. I had to come down here because I'm like,
so I apologize, but I, you know, I noticed that,
Oh, no, this,
because then when I email my stuff,
yeah,
I let Jeff know, I said you
you missed Donnie,
you
Chuck.
missed Donnie, but I forwarded the information.
you
He
did?
says, I just, yeah, I did. And he said, I just responded all.
No, I did see.
But that was just-
It wasn't on my camera.
That was just the needs though, the rest of the agenda you may not have received, Donnie, that's why,
Okay,
it was just one of those deals.
well, this won't.
Bob, I don't have an email from you. The updates, public work update is all I got.
On the 12th.
okay.
That's just the impact fee needs assessment. Also, there's a link to the court plan below.
Oh, it was in with the court plan email?
So, yeah, now I'm kind of putting two and two together, but that's why you didn't have a lot of this stuff, Donnie.
That's why. That's the needs assessment, right? That's it, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
That's what
but
I'm talking about.
the agenda, when she sent it out, had, you know, the other, a bunch of other documents attached to it, including this one.
But you sent it on Monday at 1:25 and I sent it to Donnie at 1:22. So,
On Monday?
The one from me, but not the other stuff.
Donnie, I apologize. Don't know how I missed you.
Yeah, you're not
Bob,
sure.
I'm looking for you said that you sent it to me. I got the Monday one. It's the packet. Is the,
Yep.
I got the
That's the one.
needs assessment here. And the court plan is all I got.
Yep.
That's what I was asking, is this is the needs assessment here,
That one didn't get to you.
but the memo that we're talking about here,
Was in with the agenda in the packet.
Yeah, you're not on it. I was just looking at it. You're not on my email. That one.
I'm tired.
so I don't have that document here.
No, you're not on there.
I'll print you one, Donnie.
I'll just print off a copy of it. I'll have to read it in my spare time, but I ain't gonna be able to look at anything. And it, normally this stuff should come to us a little bit in advance, like the rest of the packet items before, so we have a chance to review this.
Yeah, she
I
sent
mean-
it on the 8th.
Yep, and I did, and I missed you, and I apologize
Oh.
for that.
I just downloaded the court file and I just didn't, ignored the rest. So anyway, I suppose we continue on with the water needs assessment then.
So as I was saying, so, you know, what they wanna see for pressure from a code standpoint is between 35 and 100 PSI. And right now you're 39 to 98 PSI. So you're within that window. But there are areas that are getting dangerously close to that 35 pressure.
Is that, you talking about geographical areas like some houses?
Yeah, it's, you know, essentially, it's I can't remember if it's the 950 contour. Yeah, I have some maps at the end of this document. But essentially, you know, you got your tower way up in the air, right? And if the ground gets too high, then, you know,
You're
the
bumping.
pressure goes down. And then also too, if you get further away from your water supply and your storage, you know, you get the friction loss in the pipe, so your hydraulic grade line goes down as well.
And then bring it all the usage in front of you.
Yeah, and then, so,
35 is around your house. And then the 98 is down by the river.
Yeah,
Areas.
water pressure at my house sucks.
so. You know, and so, you know, just to kind of, cut to the chase here, let's see. So here's what we're recommending, is that you proceed with the painting and, you know, getting that water tower, number one, fixed up, okay?
We're only
And continue to use it.
talking
Yeah, that's the one, you know, downtown here.
Depot Street.
And so, you know, do that now. Phase two, and this is not too far down the road here, is to create a high pressure zone. And what you would do there is you put in a booster station and then a pressure reducing valve. That's kind of on both ends of it. And so that way you boost up the pressure for that lower area of town there.
When you're pushing it out farther.
Yeah, yep. And you know, what's kind of tricky here now is because,
So you're saying currently our storage capacity is good
yeah,
and we should be good with the needs of the current village and or growth expected, right? Until we need to build a new one, which is already
yeah, like 10 years from
Identified.
now, you're gonna have to do something.
identified with our needs assessment, right?
Yeah. yeah.
Okay, but with a pressure issue that we need to address at some point in time with the ongoing, is that something we can capture in the needs assessment?
Well, we'll get there, Donnie. Yeah. We are not recommending that you capture money for that just because it just pushes the needs dollars amount up so high. And it's kind of an existing problem. So, you know, we can talk about that when we get kind of that part of it, Donnie.
Okay.
And so,
They could argue that that is not appropriate for coffee needs.
it's
Because it's
existing problem.
geographical. Well, you're talking hills, not population, because that's existed, that low pressure out by, you know, almost, the meadows. Existed when there was two houses out there.
Yeah.
So it really hasn't gone down. But obviously it hasn't.
So is this in phase two, is that to address the issue in the meadows? Or is that to address ongoing issues?
Meadows.
Meadows in other areas.
Yeah, so it's not really, it's hard to make the argument to collect needs on it because it is an existing problem.
Okay, it was winds up. Duly affected.
The top part will be, then when you get down by the school, it will be. And then.
Pineville?
Pineville. It'd be interesting, but
It looks okay.
we
It looks
let,
okay.
we let their engineers do the calculations based on the flow tests, so, you know, they vetted that out and said we were good. But then again, if we do have something low, you know, we look at some alternatives that we have.
You know, and you have, you know, a lot of this is in, you know, our crystal ball saying, okay, where's growth gonna happen and how are you guys gonna grow and, you know, what's gonna go there and. So some of this stuff, you know, gets a little bit fuzzy further you look out.
So when you're pushing up like up in TID 5, that should be no problem then,
Yeah,
because we're, you know, all coming downhill on that, right?
Yep.
Okay. cause that's where you're gonna have some commercial use, and where you're gonna use a lot of more. In theory, you'd be using quite a substantial more, needs of water, and you'll want that pressure there.
And even as we grow across the freeway, we'll still be covered then with.
So, and I can talk prices and some of that, and I can show you some maps, but then, so we got. You know, I'll show you that, the high pressure zone and how that would look and everything else. Phase 3 though, as you continue to grow and, you know, eventually a new tower will be warranted. And you'd be more than likely looking at 200,000 gallons up in the air.
Time frame on something like that.
2040,
10 to 15
16 years.
10 to 15 years. Is my notes.
10 to 15.
That's something to start budgeting for, then you're thinking? With the, you know, and the needs assessment.
It'd be good to keep, that as a line item in the water for replacement capital projects, for sure.
So,
And then, yes, for needs assessment.
so here's the punchline with the costs of all these projects in today's dollars. On the screen there, Danny. You can see to repaint the water towers, like 650,000.
Demolish and replace it is what?
120 and 100, 100 and 120.
You know, not to replace it, but to hang another 200,000 gallons in the air, you're looking at 3.5 million. And, when I first started this in the 90s, the rule of thumb was $1 a gallon. You know, we could have done a 200,000 gallon tank in 93 for $200,000. That ain't the case anymore.
Good lord. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Remarket.
No.
Now, you're saying looking to exist or, recode existing water tower, I guess I'm missing something. Wasn't it proposed to demolish and replace that one?
No, we looked at it and we concluded you have enough storage. You should keep that.
I apologize for not being caught up to speed on this. Was planning on studying through it. I didn't have the information, so I'm kind of at a
Yeah,
loss.
structurally, that tower is good. They climbed it. My past inspections, they show it's all coating that is the issue.
So $650,000 to repaint it. And it'll last for another
They gotta repaint it again. 20
15
years or whatever.
whatever it is gonna be, and it'll still hold up.
What color?
Well, that's a conversation.
That's a you problem, not an MSA problem. So, and then you have. Then you have about $2 million for this, PRV and this booster station that you'll need. In the near future. And then, like I said, the new tower is 3.5 million.
But phase 3 is part of your impact fees, right?
Yes,
So that's all gonna be factored into the impact fees, which
yeah,
obviously what we're charging right now isn't gonna suffice to cover that, because like you were saying, it was $1 a gallon back in the day, and now you're looking at is that 200,000 gallon tank,
yeah, 200,000 gallons.
or tower, I mean?
We're looking at 60% from impact fees, is that right, or 40%?
Yeah, we proportionalized it and
Some through rates, user rates, and then some through that impact fee collection.
I thought this document I had saved to have the attachments on the back and I'm not seeing it, so oops, I got the wrong file here. Bear with me a second. So I'm kind of sure, I wanted to show you some exhibits that showed the that would have been in your package too, I imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I apologize, I don't need to do that.
well, and if everybody else noticed, I miss Donnie, thanks a lot for letting me know.
I didn't notice.
Didn't notice anything, sorry.
I forgot.
Those are,
Oh, that's my house.
is that part of them
My
documents that were
house,
sent to?
Yep,
My house is in the red.
so you can see the colors, you know, red. You know, green is happy, red is mad, so. Yeah,
Scroll up.
but again, so you can kind of see what the community looks like, you can see where the the available fire flows, you know, you can see this neighborhood down here gets kind of lean. They should have looped it back in the day, you know, hindsight being 2020. Yeah, you know, this neighborhood here is all a dead end, right? So if you bring that loop in, that changes immensely. The amount of fire flow that's available to that area. So we have this,
Are they doing that in other developments? Is that being proposed in other developments to loop them?
yeah, we would,
Like Pine Val and Wine Sap and all them that they're going to loop so that we don't.
Pineville will eventually have to loop it. It'll need to be looped, but Pineville is kind of a larger dead end.
You got Wine Sap, the same thing too, or is that dead end too?
No, that,
No, that connects up with Sunrise and then it'll connect into Meadows. All the way through there.
yeah, so then it'll come up like this. It'll be looped. Moving on to the second attachment is,
Did you forward me that?
I did.
so you can see here, these are the existing static pressures that we're talking about. And you can kind of see kind of where the areas of, you know, that, the elevations. You know, you can see there's a little bit up here, but not a lot, you know, that kind of, you know, the higher point of Pineville is kind of up in that,
A tan color.
that tannish color is kind of that lower PSI area, and then kind of all through here.
Would you have to do two of them or just one?
Just one. I mean, it's, you still meet requirements and everything else, but it's just kind of identifying. highlighting
Yeah, who's gonna
areas.
wanna buy a house over there when water pressure drops down? Cause that'll spread all fast.
Well, and you know, you're kind of obligated to provide that 35 PSI.
Right. But
And
35. is-
until
If
you have,
everybody gets home, and takes a shower, 35 isn't gonna cut the monster dog either.
yeah, and it, you know, it's one of those things too, where the funding, you know, you can't get low interest loans until 10 people don't have, more than 10 people have pressure problems.
Right.
So, you know, what do? You let it get nightmare and you have people with pitchforks, and everything in here, or, you know, or do you be a little more proactive?
That's why I wanted to raise the water bill last year.
And then, let's see, I got the. Then I'll show you this. This is the high pressure zone map. There we go.
Good looking map, Chuck.
So, you know, what you end up doing is you would put, you know, some sort of booster station near your tower up here. Okay? And that resolves the high pressure issue here, and then you have a pressure reducing valve over here. So if you're, you know, you're boosting it up, and then all of a sudden you're fighting a fire or something happens, you know, this PRV valve's able to open and, you know, burp and give you more water, essentially. But under normal conditions, it's kind of restricting the water so the pressure can stay high down here. If that makes sense.
So the 2 million that we were talking about before. That's gonna come out of the needs, and what kind of a time frame are we looking at?
That 2 million won't come out of the needs.
I'm sorry, that won't come out of needs. What time frame are we looking at on something like that?
I have a lot of numbers rattling in my head. Was it like within the 5 year time period?
Looking at about 400,000 a year then? In theory,
Yeah,
in addition to the 650, that's right away,
it's if you're paying cash.
yeah. Or you borrow, and
Bond it.
you bond it, and then you're paying interest, you know, so, but, I guess the question is whether or not we can. You know, start putting some, money aside for it, or if we have to bond for it. I know at some point in time, they're gonna require us to do something on that tower, right? That's gonna need to be resurfaced. Is there a time frame on that? Getting the tower surfaced and repainted,
2026.
Has to be done.
2 years?
No, it doesn't.
Have to be done.
It's
Just
just
needs to be done.
before you start getting water quality issues, you get rust and then you start bleeding into the water, so that's why.
No, the repairs are
2
more
years.
expensive.
2 years.
Yeah.
So we got 2 years on
Yeah.
650,000 and another 3 years on 2 million. For the point of this meeting is it's good to have it at least mentioned. So that people understand what we're looking at for. Not only water, maintain water quality here, but, if we don't do something and be proactive on it, at some point in time, we're gonna have to borrow and pay for it later.
And, I encourage you to read it now that I kind of gave you the background on it,
Oh, I planned on it.
yeah.
I had every intention
I
to.
apologize, it was one of those things where I was kind of, I thought the word got back to you, all right, I should have just. Hey,
It's okay.
let you know.
Yeah, that's okay.
It was my fault. And again,
I'll take the blame.
if it was a normal meeting, and this was like the one thing I would have had on the agenda, we would have gone through this with a little finer tooth comb, but I'm glad at least I was able to give you the kind of the cliff notes here, so you got a sense of what it's about.
Mhm.
And hopefully it'll help you make clearer sense as you read that report in detail.
So when would we have to act on painting the water tower? Is that something that?
2 years.
2 years. 2 years, so that's not that we can get done this year
Yeah,
then?
well, we don't have the money for it yet. We gotta look at that in our budgeting and I think everything is.
But it's nothing that we need to make a decision on.
It's,
today,
those are things that are in the 5-year plan that others doesn't, they have it, so they look at it.
This new report too that they're looking at with the
They will look at it.
mill. I mean, we know the 3 mil, right? Or 3,500, 3.5 mil
This,
for the tower.
$65,000.
They do that one, right?
So,
650.
no, we'll add this in. Yeah.
So,
Alright.
we can refer to this. for-
Right now, under in the needs assessment, we got collected. It says cost of water tower due to growth 665,000.
That's proportionalized.
Is that proportionalized to what?
Your existing users picking up
New users.
new users versus,
Yeah, that's 3.5 million times 20%, basically.
yeah. So that's how that's numbered. It just happens to be close to the payment, so that's further confuses matter, but
So is it 80-20 existing customers, 81%?
yeah. And, it's a balancing act, Donnie. If you put all the new stuff on all the new residents, no one's gonna move here because you're gonna be charging
Crazy water fees.
10 grand a home. And you're not gonna be competitive and, everybody's gonna move to New Richmond. So we'll get into those discussions later on too.
Yeah, you can't just pass everything on to them.
And, and there is benefit.
Right, but you got all the people that are here that are saying, why are we paying for all of them too? So we're gonna kind of a catch 22 is, why am I paying, added water rates when we see all this development and now we're paying, you gotta find that,
Absolutely.
it's a.
People are already here, kind of stuck.
No, but they
Yeah,
do
one.
vote people into, to look at that kind of stuff. It's not being stuck, it's being, accountability, keep accountability to it all too.
These needs, they're not easy to do.
Right.
Cause yeah, it's that balancing act, right? Because you're gonna have builders suing you. I mean, you already had. Because, in your past.
I think we did have a comment, one of the builders did say that our fees are high.
But I don't think they're that high compared to other areas.
Someone, that was a comment they had, but they.
Right.
Not one of the better ones.
Most collect up front, so if you put a 200 parcel development up.
They take it all,
Right now.
right?
We do ours
As
as
you
the
complete.
house is built.
Every building permit that goes out, that's when they collect it, but on them, it's 200 houses is 200 impact fees up front.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. cash flow.
And we're not really that far out from on our needs assessment from other areas that I've seen.
And you know, too, as you get more residents and, you know, and you get more these facilities, you know, businesses come, you know. More you know, it's all kind of intertwined, right?
So we'll just digest this and,
Yep.
that's all we can do at this point in time, right?
Correct, correct.
Same thing with Corp, right?
Yeah,
Was there any further questions or, on his water system evaluation? Cause I'll just have to, spend some time on that one later.
I'm good. No, no more questions.
Okay, next item. Corp,
bear with me, I just accidentally closed out of the darn document. Didn't mean to. And again, I could walk you through all of this, but you know, but the section six is kind of, the recommendations. And so it talks about your existing parks, you know, maintaining, replacing equipment, maintaining landscaping, you know, sufficient resources to support recreational programs, maintain safe and accessible of all parks, budget funds for additional future improvements, you know, so that there's some generic stuff up in front. But, you know, what we recommend is the greatest need is a village park. Projects are considered, they should commence planning within 1 to 2 years of adoption of this plan. However, implementation will require coordination with other stakeholders, including the school districts, sports organizations, adjacent landowners, et cetera, which may delay implementation. High priority improvements is village park. Recommend the village revisit the December 2018 master plan to confirm the recommendations, improvements are still relevant. Please note that the softball and baseball fields are a large portion of the mid-terrace of the park and are heavily utilized. A plan to construct replacement fields warrants consideration. I mean, that's the big one. We're just saying, you know what, you've got this, you know, you need to do this, Corp, you know, to remain eligible for, you know, park and rec funding, right? We've done that. We've established priority and needs. And, you know, our recommendation is you dust off that 2018 plan and figure out what you're gonna do with it.
So I saw part of that was, there were phases, right? There was phase one where we kind of did the.
Yep.
The south side of it. There was phase two where we kind of did the river side of it. And then phase three was that
Kind of
section.
the upper part and the expensive stuff.
Yeah, and would the ball fields then stay in all the way through phase three? Until we started phase three, or phase two, they'd be tore out?
You're testing my memory. I
think it's phase two.
Phase,
think it's phase two. So, you know, really before you do anything, you gotta figure out your field situation.
School has a lot of property.
Yeah.
We should build ballparks near the school.
what? Where they play baseball? Crazy. So how do we get that rolling, or how do we, I guess that specific one of greatest needs, how do we as Public Works take that and keep that at, you know, the front of our attention?
well, we need to first off get the 2018 Village Park Master Plan. And look at those and then see what, you know, where we're gonna go from there and probably get public input on it in order to decide whether or not we, you know, how we're going to move forward. But I think that's the first thing that they're recommending there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that, I think Bob shared that plan with me probably like, I don't know, right when I got on board or.
I believe it's on your website.
But
Yeah.
again, it's, you gotta get the stakeholders and the district and that's other organizations along, you know, on that plan as well.
Agreed, so right now I just wanna, how do we as a board keep that, do we put that as an agenda item, so it's on here every week for unfinished business, so we just keep hammering away at that
I'm only showing up every month. So.
every month's meeting, yeah.
He's got a point.
You know, maybe if I may suggest something, Brandon,
I'm absolutely open to suggestions.
share, you know, maybe by the next meeting. Everybody review that report. And have it as an agenda item to kind of figure out next steps.
I like it. little itty bitty bites.
Well, I know we're looking at budget meetings, so, you know, it'd be nice to have something at least from a standpoint of, you know, costs associated. I know looking at that report, but a lot of things price wise have changed since 2018, I'm sure.
Everything.
And so that being said, you know, looking at those and just trying to determine that so we can look at if there's something that we can put into the budget, you know, for the upcoming, you know, year. And or look at a referendum, and I think that's what this committee needs to debate and decide what they wanna do.
So, but I think, you know, some of that bigger picture stuff of like. You know, are you moving the ball fields or not? I mean, and then,
That's a big item, just a little different.
you know, so you're not gonna, you know, it's gonna be an ongoing conversation for a year or two, you know, a year.
So we'll table that until next month and can we get the report out to the committee?
The whole committee.
Including Donnie.
I don't know.
It is on the website if you wanna give a jump ahead of me.
That 2018 plan, Village Park Master Plan
I was looking at
is
this.
on the website?
Should be, I thought it was, I can double check.
It used to be.
We might have pulled it out. I was relevant, see.
On the new.
Well,
Bob was sick of getting phone calls about it.
Amy, if you want me to send you a copy, would that be the easiest?
Yeah,
Okay. I'll copy Brandon and Caleb.
Oh, I got a copy. I was looking at it already.
On
Oh,
my desktop at home.
yeah, I'm on
I
board.
read it every night before I go to
I
bed.
wasn't on board with the splash pad, but Bob's convinced me.
Okay. What else do we have on there, under Joe Casey and what's the rest of them?
Well, and then these are pretty minor deals, you know, just suggesting you improve signage. No real improvements to the River Hills.
River Hills North. Where's that at?
That's Joe Casey. That's the disc golf area. River Hills North. Natural area.
Oh, yeah, there's kind of swampland around there. Swamp.
So River Hills North and LaGrange are together?
Sort of.
Okay.
There.
That's where the compost pile is now, right?
No,
You
that's
kind of
where
walks through there.
the pond, the big natural wetland is.
Oh,
That area.
that's
That's
separate.
green, that's green.
Got it.
Would that be the west of LaGrange then?
No, east.
East. Oh, that.
The east of LaGrange is houses, right?
East.
Maybe this will help you out.
Oh, that little spot. Yeah, yeah.
You got your Joe Casey Park,
Yep, there's like a
you know,
little.
LaGrange, your natural area. West, you know, so. So
It's
that's
just an open field above an old, where that an old house used to be there, and there's a cornfield there, and there's a little open spot behind it.
I'm trying to see where the heck he's talking about there. There. Oh, okay, that's a little better.
It's just a few. Well, we've been taking care of the disc golf part now. There's been improvements on there. There's signage,
Goats.
goats.
So what's the other recommendations, if you don't mind, when you roll down through them?
okay,
River
LaGrange,
Hills North, LaGranger, maintain, consider improvements to disc golf. I think we got that already kind of check marked off, right? Upgrade bathroom, commercial grade fixtures, add concrete, what?
pads, new bleachers.
Concrete started today.
That's done,
Started.
or, okay,
Got the ribbon up today.
Metal, so benches,
What pond?
What pond?
The pond, Meadows Park, one in front.
What pond?
What pond are you talking about? Who? And Meadows.
The big one up front.
Right when
the
you
storm
drive
pond.
that isn't ours though, is it?
That's counted as green space.
No, it's not ours.
That's not on this report, is it?
Meadows Park is in
Yeah,
the middle of.
That's where they have those benches. No, by the tracks, that one.
Okay.
We hold a walking path there.
And a fine pond it is. There it is, it counts. You should put something in the, we should put something in the middle there. Such a waste of space. See that?
We can look at, making those suggestions up. Should we have a,
Like right here, see? Should put something in there.
that is something in there.
There's a park.
There's a,
Playground.
there's playground and everything.
Isn't the playground in here?
No, up in the center. Yeah, right there.
No, that's where Brandon was playing.
There's one here, but there's nothing in here. That's just open, right? Yeah, nothing.
yeah.
Oh, that's around by,
Behind the quads that they,
oh, that.
They
Is
could
is there anything, is there access to that even?
two access points.
be a good spot for a dog park.
It would be a great spot for a dog park.
My silent there.
It's not that big though, is it?
Chuck will punch you right in
There's already fences around most of it.
No, there isn't. No, I know what you're talking about now. What they gonna do there?
There's
Anything?
no. Counts as green space.
Well,
Are we cutting it?
Do we own it?
Yeah, yeah, we own it.
I didn't know that was public access.
Oh geez, Caleb's gonna be hanging out down there.
Is there anything we can do in there or?
so those quads got put in 20 years after that development did. So that was just open green space.
Yep.
The concern is, if you do something now and the access points are between two houses, they ain't gonna like that. So that was kind of the justification, like, let's just leave it green, we'll keep cutting it, and they can,
Or walking trail to it or
they
something?
can play football, they can play wiffle ball, whatever they wanna do. They
Just a
can,
big backyard for something back here for everybody. You know, dog park.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to point out, so we can move on, is the dog park.
Yeah,
We're suggesting that the dog park be in TID 5 near the Apple River.
we don't own that land though,
TID,
by the Apple River,
well, I mean, you own TID 5,
all the way to the Apple.
not all the way up.
north,
Down here?
answers.
We own that,
Yeah,
yep.
That's where you want the dog park? That's where you're saying?
just somewhere in TID 5, it's a possibility.
That's the areas I identified.
Right.
Lower shelf.
Right here.
You know, it's away from people and,
Well, anything by the rivers is fine with walking trails and stuff like that is also gonna be considered, right?
Yep.
So.
Right,
if
next
you-
one around the perimeter,
Huh?
a nice one around the perimeter.
Sure.
so
I won't put anything over in that neck of the woods.
ponder
Is there-
that.
Huh?
So chew on that, I guess that's the recommendation. Staff that.
I think the main one is definitely, we gotta address that greatest needs one right away and just keep on hammering on that one. The greatest needs,
Yeah.
the village park, we just gotta keep on.
Well, and I'm not disputing that, but, you know, the issue is, like you said before, in the email that I sent out, that there was a potential person that was willing to donate some fencing. And I just don't wanna lose that. So if we were saying we could carve out 2 or 3 acres or whatever that would be, I would try to, you know, secure that yet before we lose that donation. Because at some point in time, that's not gonna be available anymore.
Yeah, when is the date on that, or what is the mechanism of that, and what is the? So you're talking about.
Well,
the fence, not
Mike
specific.
Cappers is the one that's offering up the fence. I was hoping that he was gonna speak on it. I don't wanna speak on his behalf, but he said that if they could secure a portion of land for the dog fence and, you know, got that perimeter, he'd donate the 4-foot fence for it.
When
And I would donate the labor to put it up.
So you're gonna tear it down right away from there and then set it up that same day?
No, I didn't say set it up right away. That's not what I said. What I said was securing a spot. If it was 2 or 3 acres or whatever it would be, that way we know how much fencing that he would be able to donate, and I would secure that. We could roll it up and store it until we have a spot, you know, ready to put it up and then put it up at that point in time.
Yeah, my only concern would be if we're tearing it down and we're not putting it up right away, you know, I know how I am at home when I tear stuff down and I say I'm gonna work on it later, it ends up being in.
Well, I
the
don't
basement
disagree. I don't want
for
it
a
to sit
while.
around forever either, but you know, that's why I was asking if we own that land. You know, if there was a plan to put something to say, okay, we can put it up there, you know,
Well,
what kind of I didn't even know where we're looking at, other than, you know, we mentioned maybe a 2 or 3 acre. You know, spot, I'm comfortable with.
How big is that lower shelf up there?
how are people, so I guess the other thing is,
It's all around 2 to 3 acres.
so how are people, where are people gonna park? How are they gonna get there? Do we have to plow a road to get there? Or do we have to?
Well, if you're talking about putting village space over there,
Well,
yeah.
it's down by our lift station area and down by the detention, retention, infiltration ponds.
I mean,
So there's already a spot where people could pull out, park their cars,
Right.
all that. Yeah, right now,
They could
park in the field.
potentially go out there. Go turn a dog go, sure.
yeah, and you know, you can have dog parks on slopes and everything else too. They can park on the top and walk down. And again, bear in mind, these corps are kind of keep, you know, primarily just to kind of identify. You know, it's a 30,000 foot view of what we're doing here, and you know, there's a lot of details to work out.
No, I'd like
Size
to check
being
all the
included,
boxes.
location as well.
I'd like to check all the boxes, the greatest needs, everything on that list, just like we did before. You start working on it. It's a 5-year plan, you know? It was a big need, in the last court plan. We were trying to get that done because we had everything else pretty much worked on. It doesn't mean that we're not gonna stop working on the rest of the recommendations. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
It's,
You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
so. You thinking you might be able to find 2 acres out there?
Did you get the map I sent you?
Well, we've been having a lot of issues with getting things here lately. I did get that one. Yeah,
So,
the question though is where in that, on that, concept plan are we talking about? Cause there's a lot of different things in there. So if you were to pull that up, where are you looking to, cause some of this stuff is not in we own right now, right?
No, I don't know that.
So where are you looking, right down on that this lower part of the shelf there?
No.
Danny, I think you're getting a little bit ahead because, you know, later on in the agenda, we're gonna have, you know, we're gonna be talking about the lift station project, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, now that the developer, you know, those multifamily things are kind of moving on some items. You know, I'm gonna come next month with a recommendation for you know, a task order to design those regional ponds for that whole development. We don't want that develop, you know. And then, once you have a design of those ponds, you can kind of see what land's left over too. So that plays into it. How much do you need to support
Those ponds.
businesses and everything else you want to go in there?
so we don't even know.
Well, I guess what I'm,
There's other questions to answer before you get to that question.
and that's fine. If we lose it, we lose it, you know, at least I can say I tried, so.
Yeah, so,
You know.
but I think there'll be space in there, but it's just, what space is
All I'm
really
looking
hard to
for
nail
is, all
down.
I'm looking for is a perimeter space,
Yeah.
you know, you said, hey, we want 2
Well, what's the most
acres.
you figure? 3 acres of fencing? The most we would figure is 3 acres of fence. So if you can obtain 3 acres worth of fence and store it
Well, if we
somewhere.
got if we have the opportunity of, you know, putting aside 2 acres or 3 acres up in that area, then we'll secure the fencing for it. And we just need to store it.
And the challenge is, you know, is that 2-3 acres you can't sell. That's the other,
Well, isn't that lower shelf pretty much
Yeah.
undevelopable?
yeah.
I don't know what I did. I put this right here.
I mean, I would say we should,
I didn't,
if we have a place.
you were
to store the
highlighting something there?
fence,
Well, it, for some reason, didn't keep the highlight.
Yeah, that's why I said, I just got the, the regular. Is that where you're looking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes that Adobe will do that to you.
So if we're just looking for a place, so if you're just looking for a recommendation on how much fence to get, I would say 3 acres worth. And we need to find a place to store the fence, so I would say as long as you can secure
Well,
3 acres
we'll get
worth
that
and have a
down
place
under-
to store it, then I would secure it, Donnie. I don't see a reason why not to, as long as it's all in good shape. Cause fence
I
is
don't
expensive,
disagree. I don't disagree.
but then what happens, so, and then if something ends up happening or we can't use it on something unforeseeable.
Well,
then
here's the
some
problem.
Fence somewhere else.
And so here's the thing, if you say you're gonna use it for that, then it's earmarked for that. So then it's a matter of just develop, if this committee says we're gonna put a dog park and it's gonna be up in TID 5, then we develop it so that there's a dog park in that area.
Yeah,
Up to
no,
2 to 3 acres, and we set aside the fence and it gets put up.
I was just saying if there was any unforeseen circumstances, then we would just have to get rid of the fence potentially. I'm not saying,
Yeah, we'd have to cross that bridge down the road.
yeah, but I would say it would be worth obtaining it, I would obtain 3 acres worth and obtain. a
Is there,
spot to
is
store it.
3 acres too much
Drew, you know, I'm not a great.
in theory?
I mean, that's.
Rather have too much.
I'd rather, yeah,
Well. You know,
the ones I've been to, well, I'm trying to think, you know, we have a dog, but I don't take him there very often, but. Trying to
3
think
acres
of
will
size.
be gargantuan and.
it would be
in the
huge.
cities.
Yeah.
Most of them are an acre. There's.
I mean, I'd say 2 acres.
Well, we could have a small dog park and a big dog park.
There you go. No, it's.
Okay.
2 acres is, you know. Eight lots.
That's a lot. That's why I said I'm not leaning towards 3, because that's 12 lots.
2 football fields without the end zones.
There you go, 2 acres then. 2 acres worth. Secure it, Donnie. Secure the.
Well, we'll make a motion when we get to that point under village park upgrade and go on.
So as far as this, you wanna make a recommendation with this outdoor recreation plan?
I'd say let's get it out to the village, what's there to recommend?
Yes, so
At this point in time, it's just,
all approval for you, just the guys to be done and for you guys to
Yeah.
get paid, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah, you know, get it on the minutes that, you know, you've approved this plan and then you're good for 5 years.
yeah, I'd like to get it to the rest of the board. And we can definitely put it on the village board for final approval.
Brandon Crown second. Was that motion, Donnie?
Yeah.
Like,
To forward this to the board for final approval.
Brandon Crown second.
Motion made, and seconded to forward the court plan to the rest of the village board, probably get it to them as soon as possible. It's a big document. Give them a chance to read it before the meeting. And ask them for final approval. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carried. New business. Impact fee needs assessment.
All right, so I'll walk you through the report very quickly here. This is a draft version, it's by far from complete. Whoops. So, you know, essentially what you got here is you got an introduction that kind of tells you, you know, what is allowed. And then I get into population projections. Okay. And then we'll talk about the regional context. Then some of the state statutes that apply when we put this together. You know, so you've got all that in the first couple chapters, and then chapter 3, you get into the water needs, right? And here it reiterates some of that memo that we're talking about. So this will, once you read that evaluation and you absorb that, then you can kind of look at this and you know, kind of, you know, it summarizes what was in that memo. And some of the kind of the water quality standards, right? And then again, to determine future demands and how many projected REUs. Anybody know what REU stands for?
Go.
Residential equivalency unit. So like a business might be, it's, you know, 2 REUs is like, you're equivalent to 2 houses. That's what it is, and so you have to kind of.
So like, just using, not picking anybody, but for example purposes, like Growing Wings would have a little more REUs because because
Yeah.
they are more of a institutional like type of
They
facility?
have 12 units or whatever they, what do they have, 12 people in there and some staff members, so they're probably
A little-
equivalent to 2 or 3 RUs.
As compared to a regular,
House.
residential house is one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you use the comprehensive plan to kind of figure out, okay, how many people are coming, make some assumptions on what water use is. And you can see the needs of, how many gallons per day these new residents are gonna need. We make some assumptions that we expect in the planning period, you're gonna have 20 more acres of industrial. 83 more acres of,
Is this sufficient? Cause you got 410 residential units. Right? I'm just going looking at the RUs under 3.2. You got 410. If you go over to the far side over there. Yeah, you can't quite see that.
Oh. See, my screen looks different than your screen, apologize for that.
There you go. So you've got 410 RUs. We're only anticipating to have 410 or 329 units over the next 20 years in housing.
That's what your comp plan says. And you can a lot of communities will update, once you have it, it's
How many
easy.
we got in, it would, okay, was that comp plan already figuring in or factoring in the
Boyd, Sap,
and Pineville?
And, again, it's a crystal ball and you rely on the state demographer's office and everything else too. I mean,
Right.
there's.
How many
stable
is it, like
sources.
250,
325.
300?
And if you get more and you collect more, you'll need a tower faster.
Right.
So, I mean, it kind of evens out, so to speak. But I don't wanna, we wanted this to align with the comp plan because you don't want people saying, well, you're saying we're gonna grow by 19,000 RUs and your comp plan is saying something different.
Right, but the purpose of the water, the needs assessment is to assess those individuals for a portion of what the future growth is going to be and pay for that. And if you take the needs and you've paid for that, you can no longer assess for anything. Right?
You build things faster and you update it.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. So that would force an update. In other words, if we said we're going to have $100,000 worth of expenditures that we're gonna put over 300 homes. So we're gonna assess each new home $333 until we get to that $100,000 expenditure, right? Once that $100,000 expenditures, you can no longer assess that $333 for the new houses, right?
Yeah, but presumably you'll have other needs at that point for the new.
Right, but then you would have to, but that doesn't jive with your needs assessment, that you would be able to assess those individuals. And somebody could basically challenge the fact and say, I'm not paying for that because that's already been paid for under your needs assessment.
Well, the needs assessment is fluid, it's not law.
No, but it's set to pay
Yes.
for, it's set to pay for a certain thing under statutes, is that correct?
So, why don't we finish
Okay.
going through this section? Maybe that'll answer some of the questions and we'll, align our two thought processes here. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, so, using your comp plan, we made some projections so we could figure out this RU, okay? And then, then we looked at your storage and, this is wrong. It should be 2040, not 2030. That's a mistake there. I'll get that corrected. Or I'll make sure it aligns with the new, these are dual tracking, so I was kind of doing it as we go with that other, because I knew you guys wanted this done. So as my water guys were looking at that, I was putting this together, and so there's kind of a back and forth going. But, so here, we identified the need for, we looked at all the anticipated potential development areas, Donnie. And we identified 18,000 linear feet of new water main that's gonna be needed to be oversized. Cause what you do is that you charge that oversizing. You collect needs on that oversizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that new water tower, if you recall, I proportionalized the existing users versus the future users to come up with that $665,000.
That 18,000 linear feet of oversizing, is that existing? Or is that new?
New. So the developer comes in like Pineville. They pay for the 8-inch. And then the impact fees pays for the oversizing. Okay,
Or did you misspeak? You said you pay for the 8-inch. It is 8 inches, right? Or what are we oversizing to?
12,
Okay,
10-inch,
Okay.
12-inch, that sort of thing, diameter.
got it.
And so, we looked at all the different developments and kind of said, okay, how much is it gonna cost to oversize within this area? How much is it gonna oversize in that area? And we went through this whole process to come up with 18,000 feet. And then we looked at, so with the cost of the proportion of the tower, we looked at what previously collected needs you have in the bank, okay? And then we come up with a total needs that you need to collect of $1.2 million, right? And then, cut to the chase. What that results in collecting to get to that 1.2, you need to charge $1,300 for each new resident, right? And then when businesses come in, they're gonna be charged based on the size of their meter. Or the water line, right? So if you get the bigger meter, bigger resident, if you get, I don't know, Coca-Cola come in and they need, they need a 10-inch meter. I have no idea what a Coca-Cola would need.
What's a standard? Okay, for example, over here with the commercial, was that a 12 that went in? What's the size line that's going in for the commercial development downtown?
6-inch,
6 inch?
but that meter's an inch. So it's based off of an inch. Not the water line. So you have
Meter size.
fire suppression being the reason that the 6 inches going in, then the domestic is where that's going to the treatment plant, that's consuming water. The fire suppression is a catastrophic thing.
Okay, so I guess what I'm looking at is a normal, say,
Single family home is a 1-inch, it's reduced down to 3/4 inch.
okay, so a commercial development would be, like a commercial bar, restaurant or something like that, or a brewery or anything like that going in would be a 1-inch then, or maybe a little more?
Depending on what their usage is, sometimes there's, let's look at the cabins, Woodstock. 3/4 inch, they have 2 bathrooms, they don't use a lot of water. SMC, that's a 2-inch meter.
Right.
School, that's a 4-inch meter.
Right.
So it's all relative on what kind of demand inside is gonna happen, if you have an aluminum processing, you're gonna have a 8-inch meter. in there.
Sure, but if they were to do them commercial developments up in TID 5 that we were talking about, hopefully getting developed on there. Do you think that's gonna be a 1-inch meters in there around, or will they take 3/4?
They'll go 3/4, they'll manifold off of a fairly sizable line of manifold into each unit.
Back.
Yeah, and this paragraph here kind of summarizes it up, but basically, the base charge. We'll assume a 1-inch meter for all businesses, but then once the building permit's pulled, it will actually be sized and charged accordingly. Big deal. But you can see how how dramatically they go up, the majority are gonna fall in that 3/4, 1-inch, those smaller meters. But what I did for comparison purposes, I did look at, what you're currently charging is $1,000, right? $1,082.
Mm-hmm.
City of New Richmond currently is at $1,312. Hudson's under 1,000, Osceola at $580, River Falls is at $2,500, and Baldwin at $1,200. So, you're right, I think you're right in line with your neighbors, and so I think it feels right to me. And, with the oversizing in the water tower, I think it's where you wanna be and need to be. And so
booster in the
we are
PR.
recommending that you go up from that.
The booster and a PRV would be 1694.
Yeah,
There's no middle ground on that?
well, again, we were recommending that you didn't include it just because it's an existing problem.
I understand that.
Yeah, and,
I'm just saying, I'm concerned that I'm concerned that, you know, with the developments that we're going to possibly get over the next 15 years, that that we'd be stressing our current people for that water, and that's where, like, the city of River Falls is at $2,400, and I don't wanna ever see that happen here for new developments, but looking at it from a reasonable standpoint of 1,300 to 1,700, if there was something in the middle there, I'd be more in favor of that. I know 1,300 is absolute need.
Is River Falls that high because they're doing their own?
Topography, a lot of it,
Okay, because they're not
and development.
contributing to that sanitation thing anymore, or the.
They're probably drilling through granite to lay the pipe.
Topography. It's a lot of it.
I don't know the specifics, but so this, you don't wanna try to balance between rates and the collected impact fees, and you don't wanna too much of a disproportionate on one side or the other. Your rates you wanna adjust to keep up with inflation.
The
And
rates are for taking care of what we currently are doing, right?
we'll want to also spend money to, you know, build
Maintenance of our current lines.
infrastructure, so we can take funds and apply them to a water tower, we can take those funds and apply them to. You know, we have a return on the water utility, we shoot for 8%, and we collect that and want an 8% return on our investment per year. So then we have
Money in the account.
a fund to pay for, okay, we need, you know, and I don't know what the funds are right now, but, so they combine, okay, we have this collected from utility customers, and then we have this impact fees all contributing into, water storage, things like that.
But ultimately, this doesn't get charged unless we grow.
Right.
So that's where the water fees, the meter fees and the rates are subject to our current usage, demand and maintenance of our current line
Right.
stuff.
And if-
So if we start growing and we start putting this on them, it's not, we're not asking the current residents to pay for that cost. We're asking these guys to come in and pay for that cost. And if we gotta put a booster in to pump water, we got some low pressure over here, but we still are living with that. When we start growing even more and we start taking away that, we're gonna need that. And that's where they're saying, well, we didn't need that if we didn't grow. And so that's where I'm kind of like, is there something in the middle there that we can at least share that cost with? You know, instead of saying it's $1,700, I think the residents would be, you know, saying, well, hey, if we don't add any new housing, then we don't have to add that cost.
but, you know, bear in mind though, as you grow, you have additional users to share those base costs, and your rates won't go increase as fast because your pool of people
Get more.
you're paying Bob's staff
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
bigger,
yeah,
so that goes down.
sure.
So
So
that
you're spreading it out over more
people,
meters, right?
yeah, so that's the balancing act, and, you know, I just, you know. Depending on, you know, if you don't wanna grow at all, you know, you just wanna be you know, I guess, what I like about this number, that seems reasonable and fair to all parties. And, you know, if you start throwing in the boot, you know, so,
Well, we-
you know, if that's the direction you want me to go, and I can. Kind of ponder that a little more, I need a little time to digest that
Yeah, yeah.
and make sure it's fair to the.
I agree,
voters.
I agree.
But,
But just looking at it on its face, you know, I'm like, okay, well, you know, 1,300, I, again, haven't had a chance to review this
Yep.
until today myself, but I'm just in this discussion, looking at it going, for me, the REUs are a little short, and I know it's based off our comp plan, but we'll meet that and then some in the next 5 years, according to what we got going on right now,
yeah, but, you know what?
which is
But
gonna
the
drive.
state demographer, I mean, things change, we could be in a war with Ukraine or something, you know, who knows?
And inflation and stuff like that, it
You
all
know,
gets into
and
effect.
that's why you can't really, you know, you gotta really be thoughtful about, you know, your projections and, you know, if you wanna veer from what I'm showing here, you know, we might have to amend the comp plan and provide further justification. So, again, and again, you know, like River Falls, I just remember reading in there is that, you know, they look at it just twice, you know, how are we doing? You know, every 2 years, they just take a quick look at it. Are things going faster or slower than anticipated? And then they provide themselves an opportunity to modify their fees, you know. Things are going faster and then those numbers are gonna be higher, okay, let's adjust and, you know, collect less needs per connection or.
But at the end of the day, my question to you is this, if we had anticipated these costs, right, and it was 1,300 and to pay for these expenses that are under the water needs, and those get satisfied by the growth that we've experienced, can those impact fees be assessed to new homes after those expenses have been paid for? That's
No,
just,
but
they can't.
But,
Okay.
you know, again, beyond the water tower, you have all of these water main oversizing projects. And, you know, and that incorporates a larger area than, you know. That's quite all encompassing. And the other thing, Donnie, I should remind this committee of, is that the other thing is, if you collect needs and
Sorry?
if you collect needs from, you know, 200 different people, and then you never use them. At some point, you gotta return it.
They're gonna ask for that money back.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to track people down that, you know, maybe a developer that, you know, built and moved on to Florida or whatever, and you're gonna have to, you know, so. That's the other thing, you don't wanna collect a god awful amount of money that you don't need, because then it's gonna be a huge burden to staff to return that.
There's the 791 and the 665 of the cost of tower growth that is figured into this improvements. Minus the 264s from the 264, take it off of that is not being reassessed then, right? Because that's already been.
You've already
I've
You already
we've
collected
already put
needs
that
on
in the bank.
oversizing,
Right.
some of those.
So if we didn't do these other things, we technically would have to refund that money.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So but we still have 1,192,000 that we need to pay for.
Yep, based on, you know, what you see in
And
it,
that's not factoring in the booster and PRV,
yeah,
which is kind of a, you know, that's what I'm saying, if there was half of that we would be experiencing. You know, of $100 or $150 per home. They're going to need that in order to, you know what I'm saying?
how about this, Denny? What I'm hearing you say is, Chuck, go back and evaluate what the needs would be. And whether or not we can justify
Something on that.
a portion of that booster and the PRV.
Yeah, cause
I
I'm gonna
can do
check
that.
a couple other, yes, would you please? I'm gonna check a couple of the other needs assessments around too, to see what they have in their water needs.
Thanks for taking that action item, Chuck.
You know, and so like I said, I gotta put my feet on the desk and think about. What's a reasonable, just, you know, defendable and all that stuff, so. All right,
So I don't wanna get too far in the weeds here. Based off of our 2022 audit, this is what I was trying to explain. So after all of our expenses, our revenues, our operating income at the end of the year was $285,000. That's what we have. That then gets applied to next year, this year's budget. It sits in the bank and that 285, you know. Now what we make this year in our expenses. It keeps, that we want that to keep growing. And
I'm basically saying that's what we have in the bank so far, in case we needed to use it or something.
well, that's just from last year.
Yeah,
The
no,
prior year was a bad year, was just $11,000. the year before that was 296. Now I'm gonna verify those with Andrew to make sure I'm
Sure.
reading those correctly, but
Ultimately, it's this, it's doing this. If
it's
we-
essentially, but then it
Yep.
just, you know, you keep applying it.
Yep.
And, you know, that's why a utility customer, you know, what you don't wanna do is raise rates 30% because we screwed up and we didn't do our needs assessment correctly. So that's where the balance comes in.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I don't wanna see our current people seeing a huge increase because we didn't do a proper job on the needs assessment. So if there's any way that we need to figure in that, if we're growing and we need to have that booster put in for growth, that some should be factored into growth. And should be able to be justified towards growth, as well as inflation and everything else that we're dealing with at this point.
And growing is expensive.
Yep, yep, I agree. And that's what I've been hearing, and people saying, are we able to offset our costs with all of this growth? So, yes, could you please look at that?
Are we moving this to next month then?
We still got,
Yeah, there's plenty of work that needs to be done. So,
So.
that was just on the water.
yeah,
We still got roads and parks and, right?
well, roads, library, fire.
Yep.
Or police and EMT. All right, so transportation. You know, Bob and I talked a little bit further about this, and I'm making some modifications. What I can do is I can send an updated one, I will, but you know, there was this. We included this floor drive, you know, this is kind of in front of, what do you call it? The amphitheater. We decided to take that out because if something happens there, they can build it. Okay? And then, I just needed to, I mislabeled this one, and then this one was done already, you know, this was the. You know,
Which one?
this, the 180th, so. So I've updated the numbers quickly here before the meeting.
Are we
And so,
not gonna do Depot Street, or is that out farther?
That's not an impact.
That's not due to growth, is what
Ah,
you say.
got it.
The 190 would be due to growth.
Yeah, like Granger and 35.
Yeah.
you know, signals and turn lanes and those sorts of things is what we're charging,
Got it.
you know.
Okay.
So, you know, basically what you do is. We've identified $814,000 worth of. Impact fees that you should collect. From these projects.
So LaGrange, sorry, on LaGrange or South and South 35, is that where? Are we talking about putting a roundabout in there, or? are you
Yeah,
talking-
there's gonna be intersection improvements, you know.
That's something that the DOT will trigger us, when,
Cause it's pretty nasty.
Everything coming out of, on 35?
so Grandeur, we'll call it Parent Street 180th.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when you're taking us,
Business 64, I call it.
Yep,
yep,
that's where the DOT will
When the DOT
say,
says, okay, now we've got problems, you need to improve, that's that ICE evaluation, intersection enhancement.
but at some point in time with TID 5 and, you know, developing and stuff, that's gonna
Yep.
trigger, right? That's why,
and with all the houses going in Pineville, everyone's gonna be trying to.
Yep.
Get out to that road too, okay. That makes sense for the impact fees.
okay, so 180th alignment, that's spring, that's all done.
So kind of, what we're recommending you do is you take, okay, that $814,000. You put half of that on the new residents and you put half of it on the new. Commercial, industrial, institutional users, okay? And what that results in is that, again, these numbers need to be updated, but, you know, basically $993 per new house. Okay,
And that's coming down.
yeah,
So it's a,
because we, you know, that one project was done and we decided the other one shouldn't be in here.
Well, actually, that's going up. If you go down, it's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
141 to 993. We were at 141 before 2024,
oh, okay.
which is why I was kind of pushing to get this out there because we knew that I knew there was stuff that needed to be looked at.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what the, for better or worse, one of the feedback I got from staff, was that so much of it was put, they based it strictly on trip generation. And previously, in that 2010 plan,
Mhm.
and it was, what's the term? But it was just,
Basically handcuffed us to not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
This makes more sense.
Too.
Yeah.
Too narrow of a scope.
so like some,
Not a good metric, though.
yeah, so like some, 2-person cabinetry shop, was looking at like a $16,000 transportation fee, and they're like, it's me and,
Yeah.
me and my buddy, what are you talking
But
about?
if you get somebody like a Raising Cane's or something where you got 5,000 people coming through it every 2 weeks, then it's a, pays for itself. This makes more sense though, doesn't it? What you're doing now?
Yeah, so, essentially,
Project associated, right?
I mean, I came up with it, so it makes perfect sense. Yeah, the bottom line is it would increase from that 141 you're currently collecting for a house, new house. And it would be up near 1,000, which is more aligned with, your neighbors.
Mhm.
So.
Why is River Falls nothing?
To get you on the water and back. Yeah.
Well, so
Is that because they assess everything on, with the roads and everything?
they
to-
probably make the business and put it all in themselves,
Yeah,
or whatever. So I mean, there's different ways to skin a cat, some people just decide we're only gonna connect needs on this stuff and this, with your
But
history. the
these are
judge
needs
came
that we need
down-
to do. These are with the growth that we're experiencing, these projects that are itemized in here of the under
Yeah.
4.1 are going to need to get paid for.
Yep,
And half of that by current residents,
no,
well,
it's
half by the residents and half by the,
the anticipated businesses,
okay.
and to me, it's reasonable, and there's this.
I
know,
only
there's a-
have one question on this. I'll move on. What if we needed to pivot to a different project because of a different development? You can't do that? You can only do these projects,
Correct,
and you'd have to redo the impact fee study, right?
and that's why if you revisit it, every couple of years for a quick update, it would be more top of mind. And then you could say, you know what, it looks like everything's going north, and we're gonna need a
It
light.
should be redone with the the comprehensive plan every 5, okay?
At minimum, but I,
At a
you know,
not
I
10
think,
years.
I think pulling it out every couple of years and just taking a quick look at it and say, hey, this is still working. Or there's,
Okay.
Bob's identified a need for a new intersection improvement project. Let's,
Or we don't have any projects like the library. You finished your project, so now. Should we be collecting money?
Then you wouldn't be, yeah. You either redo the same or we're done. Okay,
there's mine. And, for an interested time, I'm having my planners help me out with the library needs.
I have, I had a discussion with Christina, she's gonna give me some information. I've talked to the chief, and I need to set some time aside to talk with Travis. To go over that ISO and all as well as this.
so 5 and 6, we should probably set aside for the time being, right?
Yeah, and 7, so.
Oh, and
just-
7 too, yeah.
And Danny, to your point. Absorb this, digest it a little more, we'll have it in a better. And we'll have it in a better format and updated, and I will get it. I'll be on record here that I'll get it, well ahead of your meeting. With, an updated report and with new numbers,
We got that on the owl.
right?
Which meeting is next Wednesday?
Well, you want it updated by then, you want it?
You asked, right? No, we got, yeah.
updated doesn't mean finished, I can update.
Maybe a heck of a
Going back
politician.
on that.
He'd be a heck of a politician. but Come to this side.
You stepped into it and realized we stepped into it, right out of it.
Okay, so I still have plenty of stuff on the agenda. Are we good with this?
Yeah,
Dan?
so nothing on parks, right?
Nothing on parks. Nothing on like sewer. You know, we're just updating the ones that you traditionally collected upon.
So in the court plan, it says we need to plan for getting more land by like 2030. Would that fall into this impact?
That's what I was asking.
So if we are collecting from a developer right now, we collect part-time dedication, part-time dedication fees. If you wanna continue to do that, then we can't put it in the impact fee. If you don't wanna do that, we can add it into the impact fee. But you can't do both. Same with the sewer.
Right.
You can't hit them and then hit them again.
Right, but I get that, and that's what I'm asking, if we're gonna acquire land though, from a developer, we're kind of purchasing the land right now. And then the developer buys land and we ask them to set aside a certain amount for parks, right?
Or they buy out,
Huh?
or they buy out of that.
That's just the residential development.
And that's all discussed in the development fee, or the developer's agreement, right? Well, we can table that or set that aside and say, no, you're not, we're just gonna buy our own and it'll be assessed in the impacts.
Well, and what we have the ability to do is when they go into planning, we can say, that's gonna be a park.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll develop the park or you develop the park. And we'll have some give and take here.
Sure.
Like Colova built, they left the park, they set aside the green space, this is Whispering Pines North. Set aside the green space and built playground and the amenities with it.
Right, but currently the developer, the two developments that we have going on. And potentially a third development we're looking at, right? So we've established a certain amount of green space, right?
We collected cash.
We collected the cash up front for that.
Yep, as opposed to having the green space.
And so
But
if
we're
we were
still
to,
at
if
that
we were to assess impact fees, we have to refund them the cash. And then for every house, then we get, or every development, we would get that money back.
Yeah, I can
And
still do that.
here's my question, how does that sit? With the cash that we're collecting versus what we need to do with that cash. Towards, developing the park, you know what I'm saying? But then we're gonna, putting in like, right now. We collect X amount of dollars for water, and we realized, well. That's not enough, we need to increase that by $300 to $600 per house. Are we collecting, or have we collected enough cash, is what I'm asking, in order to ensure that our parks are being taken care of? Or do we say, you know what, we'll give you that money back and we'll collect it per person because the money that we were taking on that is not adequate enough,
No, because your park might take 20 years to get built.
right?
So
Right.
that's-
Or not get built at all.
Right, so Whispering Pines, first phase went in 1998. They stopped building in there, just because times are tough. And they're, it filled up 20 years later,
The park wasn't done until.
so we would have collected.
Well, I know what you're saying, but I'm just asking, if we were collecting $100,000 on that development, is that enough to take care of the needs of that park? Versus, oh, well, park stuff has went up, 50%, we need to collect $150,000 to take care of the needs of that park.
That just establishes the park, that's the capital investment to put the park in,
So where does that come from?
Maintained it is.
that comes from the developer, it's $500 per rooftop. And then the other side of that is 1 acre per 30 houses.
So on Pine Val, we're looking at $60,000,
Yeah,
give or take. Is that that just doesn't seem like that's enough to take care of putting in a park in that, or, you know, even playground equipment in that area.
That's because it's in lieu of green space.
In lieu of green space. What does that mean?
So if you don't wanna dedicate any green space, then you pay that. If you wanna say, well, we'll do 15 houses and we'll dedicate you an acre for every 60. That's a negotiable item.
Okay. But if we dedicated a park in that development, is there money, I'm trying to understand where we come up with the fun stuff to, you know, put stuff into that park, you know, playground equipment, is that on the developer itself, or is that on,
Could be.
well, I mean, what, the ones that we got?
I just gave you the scenarios, it was, you know,
We got two developments going in. I know the other developments, they already kind of planned one, but that's for their own personal.
so River Hills, they dedicated some land, gave us the money, we put the park in.
Joe Casey.
And is that the same in Pineville?
No,
They bought out of
didn't
it.
dedicate the green space.
So there is no green space up in Pineville.
That'd be a future park located somewhere with better topography.
There's some walking paths figured into that, right,
Yes,
along
there
the
is.
outside, so I mean, there's not
That's-
parks, but there's
That is
nature
considered
area
green
that's there's.
space.
Or just a walking trail?
Yeah, around the ponds and stuff around
I think
the
they
outside.
got sidewalks, right? The only, that would connect up to LaGrange. Per se. I gotta do that a little bit more, it's good discussion though. I don't know how
We
we,
were kicking into 2 hours though,
yeah,
so.
there's a lot to do. Anything else?
Do we need to table that then?
Yeah, it's table that.
Brandon Crowe motion to table. Impact fee assessment. 6 days.
I would suggest that it be sent to the board though for review too. I mean, we're gonna table it, but the board needs to look at it as well.
Brandon Crowe make a motion to table the impact fee needs assessment, but forward it on to the rest of the board for review.
Second. Motion made and seconded to table impact, fees needs assessment, but forward to the full board for review. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Lift station, TID 5,
Okay, so,
is that in the packet? No.
No,
no, so what we got going here and what we're asking for at this time is that. You know, we're seeking. We want direction from the board. That as soon as these plans are finalized, you know, that we can submit them to the DNR. Okay, because we want, our goal is to have it, basically the plans finalized and done by the end of August. And we want to get that into the DNR as soon as possible. For one, because they can take up to 90 days to flip and review plans,
And then you're into frost season.
you know? And then two, that because of the funding and how it works in Wisconsin, that there's a deadline of September 30th, where just a whole slew of plans will come in from all the firms. And so if we get ahead of the game here, get it in August, you know, hopefully it'll be 59 days as opposed to, you know, the 90 days. And then what that'll allow us to do is, I mean, you know, it should go through, I mean, no one probably does more lift station.
Well, we already approved you for the lift station, stuff.
Yeah, but-
Isn't that part of the, what?
Yeah, but you know, we want some direction to make sure their plans are sufficient so we can get them into the DNR so they can, oh, shoot. So that we can get, you know, them to review and approve, so. So that's kind of what we're looking for. you know, it's in Bob and Jim's hand, the sooner you can get comments to us that we're going down the right path. We can finalize those plans, okay? Because that's what our intent is. So to make you aware, we want to submit these, get them into the DNR by the end of the month.
Okay,
And so, again, there's a lot of details in here. You don't probably really need to,
wasn't really looking to get them. I mean, if it's gotta be approved by the DNR, my suggestion would be just to forward copies to the committee once
Yep.
they're ready for submittal.
so,
Brandon Crum second.
Motion made, seconded to forward to the committee once they're, TID 5 lift station recommendations to DNR. Once they're ready for submittal.
well. Okay, so once they're ready for it, I can submit it. Okay.
Yep. You just forward us copies when you send them out.
Okay, and then, you know, you guys can take a hard look and, you know, just to give you an idea.
There's nothing that we really need to do on it. I mean, it's
No.
gotta be approved by DNR anyways, unless,
Just so you guys were aware, and it didn't come back and say, hey. we just-
I didn't know the lift station was going there, or why do you have, I mean. Bottom line is we'll have 12% grade driveway down to this lift station. It got really deep. It's a lot deeper and a lot bigger than we were anticipating.
So
Which means
additional
more
cost.
costlier, yeah. It's like a $750,000 lift station now,
as compared to,
as compared to, you know, the 500, 550, 600.
25% in cost increase.
And it's,
But you had to go deeper in order to be at a lower elevation.
we had to dig out, so, you know. Initial draft, it was like 40 feet deep. With the existing drowning, you can't build them, I mean, you can, but it's just insanely costly.
This is all.
And it's a lot bigger than we thought, just because once we looked at kind of some of the concept plans, this area, this lift station will serve. TID 5 and then all that flood property, and based on all those concepts we've developed, how big this darn thing has to be. And that's why it got more expensive. And again, like I told you how much the water towers were. Shoot, 10 years ago, we were putting lift stations in the ground for $90,000. You know, right?
So moving forward, you'll take that into account when bringing forward, any type of proposals, just make sure that we're a little bit closer.
Well, I didn't, you know. Again, once you start looking at, I thought it was gonna be more of a standard lift station, but just because of all the area, the amount of, you know, the concept showing how much is actually could go to this lift station, we gotta make sure it's size proper.
But that's all gonna be covered as part of the.
Tinwood.
TID, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, but there was a first and a second made.
Like I said, the cost and everything, just forward it on to us, so we got it for our information. Any further discussion? You're none, all in favor, aye? All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Wastewater facility improvement change order 8. Caleb?
$650,000 originally.
650 and now it's 750.
Oh, that was. That was good, that was within the margin of error. Chuck.
Say, I missed it.
Our original was $650,000.
You weren't off that.
Sanitary.
So we're not that far. away.
station
Yeah.
complete.
Okay,
And that was Chilson Spitfire, by the way.
I make a motion to approve change order, recommend for approval of change order 8 in the amount of,
A $350 credit.
Brandon Crum second.
motion made, seconded to approve change order 8. Amount of $350 credit. All in favor, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Pay apps 20,
20 and final, 10 grand, containage.
make a motion, pay, final pay app.
Second.
Contractor's application payment 20 to Stab Construction, amount of $10,000. I assume that's retainage, that was
Yeah.
held back up. Motion made, seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay. Motion carried. Site improvement quotes, Peter Commercial Construction.
Okay. And then to spare my battery.
Okay.
Well,
So this is estimate quote for. Well, water, sewer. Bring that into the Peterson lot. The.
There's
Main Street,
the utility and the parking.
and the parking is on the
Backside.
other side.
This will be done before before winter sets in,
Yes.
and that's part of TID three. And you've had other contractors bid this as well, and this is a little bit, one other contractor that could get it. Yeah, and this is a little bit on the other way, the other guy. What was the other guy at? 10-20% more?
There's 3 more zeros in it. It was the 6-figure number.
What's the pleasure of this committee?
Bill Guy make a motion to move this to the board for.
Frank, second.
We're talking about, the amount of
General contracting estimate of $46,638 for. Sewer line and, or did I get that backwards? 11,380 for parking.
Both of them.
Jimbo,
We do both of them.
Yes.
correct. I just want to clarify that. That's your second?
I'm second.
Motion made second, and this all comes out of TID three? Okay, not out of the sewer or water funds? Right? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Buckthorn,
yeah, so I put this one on. I know this was on the village board meeting and we did agree on that one spot and the goats did. Get in there and do that. We kind of glazed over the second part of it, so I just wanted to. Talk about it here quick. To
is
see.
that the map that we're looking at here?
Yep, and it would be this
So
area,
which part was, grazed over?
this area right here.
So it was, the part just, east of the, I'm sorry, west of the river?
Yep. And then they're.
Now
only
you're
different-
proposing to go in the red area or across on the east side of the river?
East side of the river, and that would be mechanical separation on that side. We wouldn't need goats over there. That's this quote here, the white pine. Land management would actually take care of that
On the
east side. Those two green sections.
The white.
my question,
Light
do we have
green.
that in
Well, this is something that he
Or
can
could we-
handle in the, let's just say January, so if we wanna throw and allocate this into next year's budget.
that's why I was wondering what, if we can have a number for budgeting?
He can do this in the winter time when then people aren't down there. Because the problem with mechanical is it throws.
Shit everywhere.
Mhm.
It's dangerous.
So
Yeah,
I
and that's a-
actually like the idea of them doing that in the off season when there's not the kids fishing down there and
well, there were tons of people by those goats and Mr.
Yeah.
or Ryan
it's just the mechanical.
just said he couldn't, every time he went down there, he couldn't get out of there without 20 people stopping him. And
I didn't zoom.
yeah, it is. So people go up, that's
We'll
over.
So-
table this till our.
Well, is there a second, before you get into your motion, my question is there a dollar amount that needs to be kind of forwarded into, or is that something you wanna put under the village park upgrades on the next one?
Yeah, so there's I just call it $4,200 is an estimate. He thinks it'd take him 15 hours to go in there and grub out the small stuff that's growing up, plus the buckthorn. And then the idea was to get the goats in there on the terrain where he couldn't get into and take care of it.
And what's that cost? That was the amount for.
That was the 1,000.
Well, it was 1,300 for the goats to do, the first pass, right?
Yep,
And now you're talking another 1,300?
yep.
Cause I thought it was for the spring, right? And then
Yep.
they're gonna get, cause I didn't see them tackle that buckthorn as much as I thought they would, but the terrain is a little tough up in there. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe if they don't have as much grass to graze on, they might get into the buckthorn more.
And there's things that, in talking with those guys, there's things that we can do as a team to get out there and chop those down a little bit ahead of time. We can coordinate, I can coordinate that part a little bit better with some of the public work guys, and even myself, is get out there and hit the stuff down that's waist high that they can't get at. So then they can really get all and make sure you get all those berries down, and then they'll eat a lot more of it. So there's stuff we can do to prep for when the goats get there. But we'll be ready this next.
But that'd be about 1,300, that you'd be looking to put forward. So you got 1,300 and 4,000, you're looking at about 5,300 to go towards budgeting for, get
Village
for the next year for Village Park.
But the other part of that is the guys we had go down there this year, they're open to re-quoting it to just renting us goats all summer and just and leaving the fence and the goats, 15 goats, and leaving them with us all summer. And we can move them around as we see fit, and they would
We're gonna
go,
become farmers or what?
I mean,
Who's gonna take care of them? They're gonna take care of them?
so we would be responsible for setting the fence up, but if they were to get loose or anything like that, they would have to help us wrangle them, because I'll tell you what, I'm not a goat wrangler. I can mend fence, but I
I
can't.
really mad when I shot that one, that guy over there.
Yeah, but I can't catch goat, you can't,
You can't catch
you
it.
can't catch a goat, you can only lead it.
You shoot it?
Oh,
The guys call, they said, we can't catch this, and we'll shoot it.
Okay. I think that we can talk about that, but if they're a report on it, we're looking at 5,300 there, and there's a couple other things. Budget meetings are starting in September, so we need to get our firm numbers, back on that and as far as ask and such.
yeah, I would shoot for that, and then I would just. The buckthorn is gonna need to get taken care of, cause that other half of the grandeur that we didn't do anything on for the buckthorn, it was. It's getting overgrown, it's getting really thick, it's gonna become a burden and almost
Some
unusable.
of that stuff we might be able to look at, with the brush removers too, and get some of that knocked down and then.
Yeah,
And then get in there with your goats after the fact, and as far as maintenance, so I get it on the higher terrain areas that that makes more sense because you can't go up there, but. If we can get it knocked down, cause I was up and looking at LaGranger, they did a really good job grazing everything. 36 inches and down.
that's what I was saying.
And everything, all the rest of the buckthorn that was overgrown is gotta get knocked down.
Yep, that's what I was kinda saying, we need to coordinate a little bit better. It was a good learning experience.
Yep, I'm gonna go on record though, we have allocated the money for the dog park fencing that have to go to the village board in order to get any kind of allocations taken off of that, cause it was already appropriated, so.
Got it, yep. I guess then
If there's
was there
anything that we could talk about as far as village park upgrades, with the exception of these two, because I've got them numbers down, but there's I'd like to see if we can get, I mean, we painted the parks and got them all, and the buildings and got the structures all up, we got the concrete going in. Is there something that we might wanna bite off? The finance committee was asking for $20-some thousand ask for pickleball courts at Larry Forest. I'm not opposed to that, that's that we need to get that basketball and everything done. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Bob, but can we pull that a capital outlay, or we got a budget for it?
Oh, yeah, capital outlay.
Okay,
So are you saying,
because that's a big ask, but at least Larry Forest then would start.
That's, the board gets to choose where they want that money.
or are you asking Donnie for pickleball courts or any other type of village park upgrades?
Yeah, there's some things that I'm looking at doing, like the upgrading the pavilions and getting some stuff done that we can do with a joint venture with some, local businesses and labor as far as the sop and fascia and upgrading the pavilions to help with that maintenance, but I know they were talking, and it's probably gonna be on hold and have to be for discussion of Village Park on the ball diamonds because that might all get changed, so I don't want to spend a bunch of money down there if we're gonna tear it all up.
One thing I would like to see for village park upgrades, I propose is we fix the stairs on the east side of the river.
Those will come.
I thought they need to come out, yeah.
Those are gonna come out completely and no one's ever gonna be able to go down the stairs over there,
That's what we're putting in a band shell.
The plan is to put a paved walking path down there.
That's part of our Village Park upgrades, right?
That's part of
Okay.
that tap grant, which we have to add that.
oh, that's in the tech grant?
We want to get all the steps out of Village Park.
Good.
All of them.
Okay, that would be the only thing I would have off the top of my head.
Good.
But those pickleball courts are used quite a bit every time I go
Well,
up there at least.
Larry Forest is probably the only place that we can really kind of spend some money, because we know, Village Park is gonna get remodded, and unless we're gonna put a pavilion or something, or redo Vets Park at all, or the other areas. There was some discussion about doing, did he put it in? Yeah, there's an email in the packet of costs associated for the, mulching. And there was also, he's looking at, I think, right now, 100 cubic yards for a semi-load is $1,900, and he's gonna need 5 loads to do all of the parks with mulch. So that's 10 grand. That's a $10,000 ask, and there's some chain link fencing and stuff like that we could probably look at, tackling on some of these other things at Vets Village and Larry Forest, but there's some significant asks here,
We're down to 5 loads or 4 loads.
because you got one, right?
There are some T pads out at the Grandeur, at the disc golf course that we could pour like
Go ahead. 4
4 or 5 of them. And get some in truck down there. But then that's in the bill to you. It's in the bill of Public Works.
So Whispering Pines, engineering, playground, safety equipment, and we also got an email from somebody was looking for some more older style swings. Did we have swings up at Vets at one time? Did they get taken out? And now there's people asking for them to go back. Is it,
Have to talk to Jim about that.
okay,
Yeah, there's a reason.
okay.
I don't know.
Because I know, one of the other guys was asking that same question when I was talking, we said, why can't, I don't have anything for my kids to play on the swings, so. I would like to see I'm being bold here, but I'd like to see, we go to finance with a $50,000 ask.
I'm all for it.
So start improving this and see what that plays out, but there's things that need to be done and maintenance and we gotta start, our parks are starting to look better.
I've gotten no pushback from us spending any of that money. People have all said,
Yep.
love the improvements.
I think the 50,000, I wanna see how it plays out in the budget numbers, but,
I go for 100.
Huh?
I go for 100.
well, what are we,
75.
well, you go with 50 and say 50, then we're good to go.
Well, there are some other things too, like I'd like to, like I was working with the school to try and get bat houses made for the Grandeur. Yes, bat houses, but then I'd also like to talk to Katie about just forest management in general of the Grandeur, because it's a nice forest up there in swamp area. As nice as a swamp area can be, but we could do some better stuff, management wise, so Katie might be a good resource on that, so we could invest some of that. Or setting that up for the future.
What I'm looking for is an investment in our community and our park system. We get some decent playgrounds, decent playground equipment, shouldn't say decent, we got good playground equipment. We get some areas that we're deficient in, we can look at them, like some of the outlying ones, but I'd like to, the pickleball court thing is a good thing. It really helps out in the mulch. That's helps out with the little kids, so we're catching all of them, but I know you're saying go for 100, but I think if we could probably squeeze 50,000 out, easily, we got 25,000 out of them last year, and if everything works out, we can get another 50 and we can diligently work on our way through that money and start showing the community that we're invested in them.
Agreed.
I'm gonna recommend I'll make a motion to recommend a finance committee of $50,000, that the budgeting be made for $50,000 of village park, I should say, upgrades on all parks, to be decided by, committee.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to recommend $50,000 in, parks improvements for upcoming budgeting session to the finance committee for all parks improvements. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Curb replacement. I'm sorry, village park upgrades, is that something we're gonna table?
Yeah.
For the time being? Do we need a motion on it, or we just move on?
Motion to table.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, table, 6G. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. H, curb replacement, Live Nation.
So, we had talked about this at the joint meeting, Donnie, and I kind of just reiterated and put this on here if you hadn't got this, on there. So I've heard some back and forth saying that permission was given to remove curbs. In fact, permission was not given by Public Works to remove that curb, so we need to figure out a plan for how Live Nation is gonna replace said curb. Because it is going to result in some issues with the water management up there.
What curb?
Which one was it again, Bob? The one on the
The west side,
Northwest side.
northwest side?
So. Some of this does involve, and is involving, with public safety. I know what you're saying about the curb replacement getting pulled out. I wasn't as happy about it when I found out about it as well. I would recommend that we, approach Live Nation and or whoever removed it. And, come up with something that is acceptable to, if they gotta move that or redesign. That portion of it, but you're absolutely right, it's gonna lead to water runoff. And potential, erosion. But public safety's gotta weigh in on this too. There, I had originally talked to some of the people that lived down that road about maybe moving that and letting them have that whole section, but, they weren't really in favor of that, and I haven't got an agreement on that as well either from anybody else, so maybe. Is this something we wanna, approach them with and write them a letter recommending that they need to come up with some kind of a solution that is agreeable to public safety and, and the public works, that nobody just can go rip out a curb without some kind of a meeting and or approval on it.
So are you talking, one, just setting up a process for curb removal, or two, remediation for the curb that was removed?
So I think the latter on this one, because this is a curb replacement. In order to get curb replaced, we could tell them, put it back in, well, they just pour a new curb but that doesn't fix the problem of egress and egress on that road that they need to address with safety. That's why they took it out to begin with. So it's a little deeper than just removing a curb. I think we need to, I'm willing to make a motion that they come up with a solution for, something that works with regards to water retainage on that. And it's acceptable to public safety too for parking on these areas.
So for them to they need to come up with a plan that's approved by both, Public Works and Public Safety for
Prior to,
curb/water management.
right,
Right, okay.
they were cursing on there.
Brent Kraut, second.
okay, motion made,
Go down here.
motion made, seconded, that, to recommend, that, Live Nation and or, Somerset Amphitheater, whoever come up with, the owner of that lot comes up with a plan that is recommended by Public Safety and Public Works, in order to deal with, water runoff and, access into that, lot going forward before, that's.
Yeah, and I would guess like to add before next summer, before concert season starts.
Well, they redo the ICP every year, right? So,
I'd make them do it this year. We're gonna have a problem with
Before winter.
snow pack if we get a bad snow season and.
This is true, so motion would be
To prior to winter.
prior to,
Yeah,
our,
Prior to October 15th, or no, cause you want,
prior to our October, we'd have it ready for our October meeting. Have the plan ready for our
Who's
October
coming
board
up with
meeting.
those plans?
Live Nation will have to present it,
Well, not Live Nation,
Or-
they don't wanna put that,
The
that name
owner
out
of
there,
the-
the owner of the lot.
the owner of the lot. So Matt Bethune.
why can't they come up with a plan before your September meeting?
Probably for the same reason, you know, some other things are, let's ask them and see what they can, but, I don't know if I wanna put them on it, but if we can get it, something before September, great. I think we address the situation, get some,
I think we
Agreement?
do it and just send them the bill.
Yeah,
what's that?
I think you will
We
want,
do it, we send them the bill.
Yeah,
I think that's, yeah, but you know, you might want their input on how to fix it though. So it works for them in the future, so they're not continually ripping it out
Yeah, if they
and.
want to taper in there, that's fine, but you know, that can't happen.
Yeah,
They shouldn't be ripping up curbs and streets.
infrastructure, no?
Yeah, we've always been very accommodating if
we're
there's something.
getting
in
off
the
that,
situation.
so your motion was to recommend,
I'll listen to it
okay,
on the
what the
recording.
motion
But
was.
is that going to the village board?
Yes, the village board, it was to recommend that, that a plan be, come up between, that's agreeable to Public Works and public safety in regards to access to that and water runoff. And I'll amend the motion that, it be, the plan be done and implemented prior to, winter.
I thought you were doing September meeting.
I'm amending a motion to prior to, that it be done, if it's gotta be, the plan's gotta be accepted in September. And in order for them to do construction, what I'm saying is that it needs to be finished before winter, you know, sets in, so, you know, so this construction season.
If I may, Donnie, I think. I would suggest that the village take the lead on this, like Caleb was suggesting. You know, and,
I'll,
cause it's your infrastructure, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
think
I understand that, but there's also some, back and forth that I've had with Joel as far as the topography and how that's all gonna lay out, and, you know, if they need to redesign that or something, they can come to you and, you know, have that redesigned, right?
Well, I just think,
I wanna, can I,
Otherwise, they could just pour the curb back and there's no.
that's your curb,
I
you
wonder-
should be pouring it.
I wanna.
That's what I'm saying, it can be poured back and there'll be no discussion, right?
Well, I think you tell them what you're gonna do, and if they want changes,
Right. So what I'm saying is we're trying to come up with a plan to figure out how we can get in and out of there, and if at the end of the day is put back the curb, then we put back the curb and charge them for it. Right? That's what I'm saying, but it needs to be coordinated with public safety as well.
do you need a motion, maybe just direct staff to go talk to them?
Well, we had a motion on the table.
That's fine.
Well, there was,
You want to think
your
second?
I'd rather let the board take care of this versus staff,
Yeah,
because it was on my hands originally, so I'm not gonna
Right.
assume the issue with it.
yeah, my apologies, yeah.
Randy Crum, second.
That's all.
You got the motion? All right. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. And I think we already did under items previously recommended for parks and budgeting purposes. We established that. We could table that until we get through budgeting if you want.
Motion, Randy Crum, motion to table 6I.
Second.
Motion made second to table 6I with, the only discussion on that would be if we set aside 2 acres in TID 5 for, a dog park. Is that something that, we could secure fencing for and store at the outlet for the time being?
Sure.
And, that would be you just need to tell us where we go with it. So are you okay with amending that table with that understanding that 2 acres of fencing would be secured with for dog park and TID 5?
I'm good with that.
Are you good with the second on that?
Yes, sir.
Motion made and seconded to, table with the amendment of, 2 acres of fencing be secured and stored at the facility, at the Public Works facility for, putting in a, dog park fencing at TID 5. Other items would be tabled until they pulled off the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay, Jay, use of public spaces. That kind of circled back to, we already tabled that item, but I want you to look at the ordinance. When we were going through, there really should be a better policy put forth under 12.15 of the current ordinances. We haven't been following that. I don't know what, that can all probably tie together better if we kind of look at 12.15 and all, public spaces where public parks and such for timing lists and everything. And I'm not trying to put more work on the public works, guys, but the reality is that that's where it should go, not to the village chairman, village board chairperson, which is what the current ordinance says. So I think we need to, revisit that. And if individuals are using a public space now, what do they do? They just come in and ask for it, or does it go to? Because there's been some back and forth where Neil hasn't known about use of village parks, but the hall is approved, because there was asked.
For what?
There was an event where there was tents put up at Village Park and stuff like
And that
that.
went through the Parks Department.
I was told it wasn't.
Is that the church,
That was
Yeah.
a church,
the
yeah.
church thing?
Okay.
Yeah, I just booked something now that went through Neil.
Yeah.
I was told that it wasn't. That's why I'm asking that. So.
But if anyone wants to book
Neil-
anything right now, it has to go to Neil.
Well, they
Neil
do it
puts
off
on
of the
calendar.
website, is what they do. And then when they're using the concession stand, that's when they come to the village hall to
They gotta pay $100.
leave the deposit.
Is this for the car show?
No,
Sure.
that was for that. They had tents and stuff and they were serving. Well, I think they were serving food. I'm not sure. I wasn't in town. I just got in after I was. But I know they were using the concession stand, and that's why I asked the question if that was something they had approved, and it was, I was told that wasn't, the case.
Yeah, they came in here and they did a deposit and they got the keys,
Okay,
because Neil gives us the keys.
again, I would suggest though, we look at that with revisiting 12.15 and maybe establish a policy. I think we got a piece of paper on the reservation policy, right? If you had given it to me, maybe we'll put that in the packet for next,
I'll put that in the packet.
and that way we can look at, timing and everything that's established and.
Can we just get that on the website in like the form? Fill it
The
out.
form is on, yeah.
It's on there, but can you just like fill it out and interact on the website? Jen? Like,
I
add it
don't
all,
think
fill it out?
that's fillable yet.
Okay. So that's something maybe we do look into.
My recommendation is that we take a look at that and maybe even, kick this to the, full board for discussion using public spaces, because we have the same situation going on at some of these other lots right now. And, if we don't have something established as far as, there's nothing to say that we couldn't have somebody that gets a vendor permit sitting across in the parking lot selling hot doggies or anything like that, you know what I'm saying?
Veggie dogs.
But I would like to recommend that at least the board take a look at that, maybe have a discussion about it. And, because it does affect not just us, but the parks, but also the board.
Okay, well, we need a motion or not?
Let's move it to the village board for discussion.
And
Right.
you still want this on for next month too?
No, I move it to the village board for discussion. We'll send
With
all
the
that stuff to them
reservations.
and let them have the discussion on it, because I don't see us getting it resolved here tonight.
Caleb Garn, make a motion to adjourn.
Wait.
Whoa. There's
made a
some
motion.
more page.
Who seconded?
Second, Brandon.
A motion made and seconded
I'll
to
second.
forward the use of public spaces in 12-105 policy for public use to the village board for discussion and possible recommendation. That was seconded.
I second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay. Motion carried. Move to adjourn.
Whoa, we
Next
got
page.
Bob, Bob's got his report yet. The best part,
You guys can just review, let me know if you have any questions.
I like the part, I,
What do you want to do with the budget numbers?
well, hold on, I had one thing I wanted to go over on.
Okay, go.
The groundbreaking ceremony was awesome, it was a good time, Marino and I were there, we manned the shovels.
I drove by,
Way to go.
I drove by.
My favorite things to do. Alright, that was all I had. Good job, Bob. Nice
I
work,
see the
everybody.
retaining walls got done, they look good around
Yeah, they look
town.
great.
I've got a lot of people. What about the hockey association on, are they looking to have a meeting with us? Or is it gonna, anything that we need to worry about?
Yeah, I'll send you all an email tomorrow.
Okay,
Just gotta go
Oh,
over it.
that's why they didn't want the dog park there.
Not on the agenda.
That's why they didn't want the dog park there. Sneaky.
Sacred land for their summer camp,
Ice water.
running around the park workouts
Sure.
till they build a parking lot on it.
Um.
They're gonna hear about it from Caleb Garn.
Make
bills,
make a motion to approve the
Bills.
bills as presented.
motion made, seconded to approve the bills as presented. Any discussion? It was just one question I had on one thing here. I did manage to look through these. $3,264 in bulbs. Is that for, lights out, street lights?
Yeah, did we have to make sure
What's
the,
the code?
62.
That's for the tanning salon down at the wastewater plant.
Okay,
The UV bulbs
Uh,
for the disinfection.
yeah, they're running this time of year. I went down and saw them.
water.
Yeah, okay,
water
so-
disinfection.
that's what you treat the water with.
That's where all the.
That's, yeah.
UV disinfection.
And do we do auditing service every year?
Yes.
That was my only question. I didn't realize it was $3,200 for that bulb. How much for years, for the year?
There's a lot of bulbs out there.
Yeah.
That big old bank.
We have to replace ours every.
Yeah, this is,
All in favor for, park bills, signify by saying aye.
I,
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Caleb Garn moved to
Future agenda items?
done. I
Oh,
got
I
them.
think we got them all already.
Yeah, we got them.
All right,
adjourn.
Second.
motion made, second to adjourn, no discussion on that, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Nice work.
We're adjourned at.
I got those from my brother.
Just after 8 o'clock.